We're officially 1 hour away from this year's NBA draft, and holy shit. We've had lots of blockbuster trades go down right before this year's NBA draft, and we have not had trades like this go down before an NBA draft in a very, very, very long time, especially some that are very interesting. But what's going on, best ones? It's the best one, DBTV here, back with a brand new basketball talk video. If you're not a best one yet already, and you're an NBA fan, especially a Brooklyn Nets fan like myself, recommend you to hit that subscribe button now, turn on the post notifications, because of course you already know the grind is real. And I just want to give you guys heads up that tonight I will be uploading my reactions to the 2023 NBA draft. Hopefully, that video comes out by midnight tonight. I always love, giving you guys my thoughts, my opinions when it comes to, the NBA draft. And you guys seem to enjoy, my reactions for the draft. So we're going to make it a tradition here on the DBTV channel. But we need to talk about some of these trades that went down. But with that being said, let's get it. I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Yeah, I need it now. So, the first trade that went down earlier this week, the Phoenix Suns received Washington Wizards All-Star Bradley Beal and sent Shamet and Chris Paul over to the Phoenix Suns, which later on, Chris Paul got sent over to the Golden State Warriors, which we're going to be talking about that in a moment. But with the Phoenix Suns, they have formed a new big three in the Big Valley. We got Kevin Durant, we got Devin Booker, and now we got Bradley Beal. And I must say, right now, for Phoenix Sun fans, it must be very hot over in Phoenix, because this is definitely one of their biggest teams that they have formed. And some are even saying it's a super team. I'm considering it a big three. And right now, it is very sunny over in Phoenix. The owner is aggressive right now. He wants a championship now. At the trade deadline this past season, the Phoenix Suns made a blockbuster move, acquiring Kevin Durant from my Brooklyn Nets, and we got a bunch of first-round picks from them. Mikal Bridges, who is forming into an all-star, and Cameron Johnson, who I really hope we bring back to this team next season. But the Phoenix Suns right now are being very aggressive. They even fired their head coach, Monty Williams. And now with the Phoenix Suns, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens next. And I feel like if the Phoenix Suns do not win a championship this season with this big three, there's going to be a storm in Phoenix, and that sun is going to stop shining. The clouds are going to be taking over the sun. And the Phoenix Suns have been so aggressive that they do not have their own pick until 2031. Unless they got some pick swaps, but it is what it is. You already know those picks really don't matter that much. The Phoenix Suns are fucked because they, took the Los Angeles Rams approach going into, this upcoming season. They really want to win a championship. They want to build a solid, foundation around Devin Booker, who, is their homegrown talent and has developed into a superstar in this league. One of definitely the top 15 players in the league. And the Phoenix Suns, they got a lot of momentum, and in my opinion, I think that they still do not have enough to beat a team like the Denver Nuggets. I think that the Phoenix Suns, they still have a lot more work to do. I think that they need to build their, bench. I think that they need to figure out what they're going to do with DeAndre Ayton. And now getting rid of Chris Paul, that, leaves another spot open for a solid playmaker, which I think if you have Kevin Durant, you have Bradley Beal, you have Devin Booker, they can create their own shots, but you still need that facilitator. Like the '08 Celtics, they had Rondo as their facilitator. He was, giving the ball to Ray Allen. He was giving the ball to Paul Pierce. He was giving the ball to Kevin Garnett. And I feel like the Phoenix Suns can figure all of that out, build their depth. I think that they definitely can win themselves a championship, because in today's NBA, big threes do not win, and I might have to make a video on all that in the future, but I do think that, the Phoenix Suns definitely got a steal in this deal for Beal, and I think the Wizards, they just waited way too long. But I don't know. The Phoenix Suns, if they don't win, it's going to be very cloudy over there in the Valley. But moving on now to our next trade that went down. We had a 3-team deal go down earlier today. And the Boston Celtics received Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingod is going to the Boston Celtics. They also received the 23rd pick in this year's draft and a future 2024 first-round pick from the Memphis Grizzlies. And the Washington Wizards received Tyus Jones. No picks at all. Tyus Jones. And the Memphis Grizzlies received former Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I was in complete shock when this trade went down. And I think that Kristaps Porzingis, this is a perfect fit for him in Boston. I think him, being with Tatum, being with Brown, I think that that's a great big three over there. I think the Celtics have a solid foundation, and now all they need is a solid playmaker at that point guard position, and I think that the Boston Celtics really have a serious shot at winning an NBA championship. Kristaps Porzingis, what a move for the Celtics. I think that this is probably Porzingis' best fit so far in his NBA career, because of course, he started off with the New York Knicks, and that team was just, a dumpster fire. We all know Brooklyn is still better than the New York Knicks. And then, Porzingis went on to the Dallas Mavericks to play with Luka Doncic, and they ended up not working out as well, which a lot of us NBA fans thought that they were going to be a duo that was going to be scary in the Western Conference. Then we saw Kristaps Porzingis go over to the Washington Wizards, and the Wizards just, they just have needed to go into a rebuild for a very long time, and they just didn't win anything. So for the Wizards to move on from Porzingis and send him over to the Celtics, what a freaking move this is. I think, this will definitely open up Tatum and Brown's game even more. And even having Robert Williams there, Kristaps Porzingis is going to be able to play the starting four, which is his primary position, being the power forward that can go out, do the pick and rolls. He can stretch the ball, and, Robert Williams will be down low, playing that defense. Unless, the Celtics decide to trade him and have Porzingis play the center, which I like, Robert Williams and Porzingis together. I think that this is a perfect fit for him. The Washington Wizards received Tyus Jones. I really hope they decide to, trade Tyus Jones to a contender. I feel like he definitely could be a solid, backup point guard for a championship team. And the Memphis Grizzlies get Marcus Smart. And now they have 2 Defensive Player of the Years on their team. Marcus Smart and Jaren Jackson Jr., and it seems like the Memphis Grizzlies found their replacement for Dillon Brooks in Marcus Smart, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. I feel like we're going to be getting Smart and Bane, as, the starting guards for the Memphis Grizzlies going into the beginning of the season. But when Ja Morant comes back, I'm curious to see what the Wizards are going to do. Are they going to have Marcus Smart come off the bench, or are they going to have Baines come off the bench? It's going to be very interesting to see. I think that this is a great move for the Grizzlies and a great move for the Celtics, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. I am kind of disappointed in the Celtics for, not trading somebody else instead of Smart. Marcus Smart has been a Boston Celtic since day one. He has really grown into the Boston culture as a fan favorite, as a locker room leader, and arguably the best, defensive player that the Celtics have had in quite a long time. I think going all the way back to Kevin Garnett. And Marcus Smart has really, embraced the Boston culture, and he even said he wanted to retire as a Celtic. He wanted to retire that number 36 jersey in the Boston rafters. He loved being a Boston Celtic, and I'm not surprised that they did this, because the Boston Celtics have had two heart and souls. They've had Isaiah Thomas, who gave his everything to that organization, and they decided to turn their backs on him because they didn't want to pay him any money. And that really pissed me off as an NBA fan. And the reason why the Celtics are one of my least favorite teams is because of what they did to Isaiah Thomas. And now what they did to Marcus Smart, it does disappoint me as a fan. Because as a Brooklyn Nets fan, I wish we had a player like Marcus Smart or Isaiah Thomas who just, wanted to get into the Brooklyn culture and, will do anything it takes to win games and go out there and give it their all every single time they step into Barclays. I wish that we had a player like that. I'm sure there's a lot of NBA teams out there that wish they had a Marcus Smart or an Isaiah Thomas. And the Celtics seem to really take their, heart and soul players for granted. And I think that's the reason why they struggle to get big free agents on their team. Because they do, things like this. And we've heard, even all-stars come out and say, that Isaiah Thomas, that's the reason why they, didn't want to sign with the Boston Celtics, because of what they did to IT. And now, they did this to Marcus Smart, which I'm very shocked. And I feel like Jaylen Brown and Tatum, they're definitely not okay with this. And I'm not going to be surprised if, we see Jaylen Brown decide to move on from this team because of what happened. But I do think the Boston Celtics definitely set themselves up for success doing this move, even though now they're going to be lacking some perimeter defense. But I do think Porzingis is a great move. It's just unfortunate that Brogdon trade didn't go down, because I think if they traded Brogdon and they had Smart, Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis, that's a championship. Moving on now to our next trade that went down. The Golden State Warriors and the Washington Wizards made a massive deal. And the Washington Wizards received Jordan Poole, a 2030 first-round pick, and a 2027 second-round pick for Chris Paul. So the Washington Wizards were able to find another team for CP3 to play for, and the Golden State Warriors decided to give Chris Paul a chance, and the reports are that the Warriors want to actually help CP3 win his first championship, something that has been haunting him since he became, a player in the NBA. He's always, fell short to winning a title, and now the Warriors have a very solid backup point guard. I think Chris Paul can definitely run the second unit well, and this really might help him out with his injuries, because Chris Paul has sustained a lot of injuries throughout the years as, a starting point guard, and I think him taking a lesser role, especially on a Steve Kerr, team, is a great move for him. We've seen a lot of, veteran players revive their careers in a Golden State uniform. Sean Livingston is a perfect example of that. And I think Chris Paul, being a veteran as well, that's going to really help a lot of these young players that the Warriors have acquired. And it seems like they decided that they want to bring back Draymond Green, because we all knew that it was going to be Jordan Poole or Draymond Green, and it seems like the Warriors still want to compete, and I think they are making the right choice here, because Steph Curry is a superstar, one of the greatest shooters of all time. Klay Thompson, his splash brother, one of the greatest, backcourts in NBA history. And I think that, the Golden State Warriors, they definitely are not done competing, but I do think that we are going to see the downfall of the Golden State Warriors. It's just a matter of time, because every year Curry's getting older, Clay's getting older, Draymond's getting older, and they even got rid of Bob Myers as their GM, and I feel like this is a trade that Bob Myers wouldn't have done, because now, you know, the Wizards got a great deal out of this, probably their best deal so far, receiving Jordan Poole, who is easily going to be averaging 25 points or more for that team. Since they're going into a full rebuild, he can do what he's got to do to develop, because in the Warriors, you know, he did win himself a championship, and he did have to play a lesser role on that team. And with the Wizards, he's going to have full range, and he's going to be able to unlock a lot of his, you know, basketball abilities over there. And even getting a 2030 first-round pick, that is a great thing that the Wizards did, because in 2030, the Warriors are probably not going to be competing, and they're not going to really be that team anymore, unless, you know, they get lucky in a draft or they get lucky in free agency. I don't think that the Warriors are going to have a good pick in 2030, so that's going to be something that Wizard fans can look forward to. And I think the Warriors, you know, right now, they're in win now, just like the Phoenix Suns. And Chris Paul, I think that this is going to be a great move for him. And definitely a move none of us expected. And it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes, because there's a lot of Curry fans that were roasting and toasting CP3. And now, some of you are going to be wearing his jersey, I bet. And last but not least, some Brooklyn Net news, because of course on DBTV I always love to cover Brooklyn Net related stuff, since that is my team. Mikal Bridges to Portland will not be happening, because the Trailblazers sent an offer over to Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets, where the Nets could have had the number 3 pick, and they could have had Simons for Mikal Bridges, and they decided to deny that trade, because it seems like the Brooklyn Nets, they do want to build a team around Mikal Bridges, and I think that this is a fantastic move for the Brooklyn Nets. I feel like it would be stupid for us to trade for that number, you know, 3rd pick, even though, you know, this is the top 3 in this NBA draft arguably are all going to be all-stars. We already know Victor's probably going to be a superstar with the San Antonio Spurs, but Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, very bright stars. And it seems like, you know, the Brooklyn Nets, they have Mikal Bridges. He's on a great contract, and honestly, I think that it's pretty funny that the Brooklyn Nets and the Trailblazers, they keep going back and forth, because the Nets, they want Damian Lillard to pair with Mikal Bridges, but then the Trailblazers want Mikal Bridges so that they can have Damon Mikal in Portland to make Damian happy. So it is very interesting to see what happens. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with this number, you know, 3rd pick in this year's draft, because Damian Lillard, I feel like, wants to compete now, and if they do draft somebody, Lillard is going to ask for a trade, and I think he's going to either go to Miami or Brooklyn, and I really hope it is Brooklyn, because I would love to see Damian Lillard and Mikal Bridges and build a team around them too. I think that that would be a scary team in the Eastern Conference. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts so far on all the trades that went down today. It has been crazy in the NBA world, and we're going to be covering a lot of off-season stuff this coming off-season that you're not going to want to miss. Also, we're going to be having my NBA draft reactions come out later on tonight for the first round. But if you guys enjoyed, you know, this quick basketball talk, it's been a while since I've done one of these, make sure to smash that like button now. If you're not a best one yet already, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. The link's down in the description below. You can go follow me on my social medias and other YouTube pages, all that down below. And of course, to all the best ones out there worldwide, we are taking over. Peace. I hope you're ready for the comeback. Steve Nash, I'm about to bring the sun back.